it.
Okay.
All right, we are live today for our special birthday edition with both of our co-founders. It's actually a lot harder to get them together on a live stream than most people think it is. They may be married, but getting them together online is hard.
Someone has to play interference with the cat.
And the kids.
And the other business.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are with Kim and Jason Coleman, the co-founders of Paid Memberships Pro and moreover that, Stranger Studios. If you submitted a question, let us know we're here, that you're here. But other than that, we're just going to be hanging out with Jason and Kim and maybe prying into like their history and how this all started and
yeah. Kim, I'm bad at remembering the work birthdays. This is it like today's the day in 12 years?
No,
is that what we said?
July 5th, 2023 is 12 years. So 2011, we entered the WordPress.
Okay, that's the date.
It was when we got the repo, the plugin approved, and then submitted the files. So
yeah,
that's cool.
That's kind of like if people ask us when we started dating and you're like, I don't really know. I guess that day we kissed at the park, we'll pick that as like our dating anniversary, right?
He's going large already, Sam. I know. He asked for like.
You just got to pick a day.
I was like, is this still going to be our love life or our business life? We'll see.
What's the difference?
What's the difference?
I picked Mark and I's dating anniversary from when it was officially like, can we be boyfriend and girlfriend? Like that question was asked. I said yes.
Were you like talking that first? You were like, we're just talking. And then you're like, now we're dating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we're exclusive.
Yeah.
I'm exclusive on Paid Memberships Pro in 2014. That was when we went from dating Paid Memberships Pro to married to Paid Memberships Pro, right?
Was it 2014 or 2015, 16? I forget.
I thought it was 14 that we went full time. Maybe that was when we hired our first team member. I don't know. We can go into the timeline. I have a little bit of it on our about page. I've tried to add a timeline there. So we could go into that if that's interesting to anyone. But yeah.
It's a decent place to start, I guess, for if people are watching the VOD while people filter in. Yeah, let's do the timeline. So it was like 2010, we're building PMPro for some of our customers. I brought this up on another video where I always say there was 4 sites and I can only really remember 2 of them. So I don't remember two of our clients out the memory hole. But we were building it for 4 sites. I'm going to go with 4 because I remember saying that forever. 4 sites. And then 2011, we got in the .org repository, right?
Yep.
And then I remember too, like it was like almost a year before that. It was the December before at a WordCamp, maybe in Columbus, Ohio. I told people at my talk, like, we'll have it in there next month, you know, and then it took 6 more months after that. So,
which is interesting. I saw someone on Twitter, it might have been Eric Karkovac or someone else, has been posting how many backlog plugins are waiting to be reviewed for .org right now, and it's over 800. He just updated today.
That's bad.
And at the time we submitted Paid Memberships for the backlog was not that big. The plugin wasn't as big as it is today, but at the same time, it's amazing to think that there are 800 plugins waiting to be made available through the .org repository, and some of that won't make it, of course. But yeah.
Yeah. Crazy. Then do you have the about? You can read through it. What comes after 2012?
Sure.
We're getting questions. I'm going to jump around.
Yeah, 2013
came after 2012.
Yeah, nothing eventful in those years. Maybe it was because we had a 2-year-old. We had our second child was born in 2011, so that probably complicated how quickly we could move. But by 2014, we did hire our first 2 full-time team members, and they were doing a hybrid role of support and development on the product. 2015, we rebranded, kept the same name, but new logo, new website refresh. And yeah, it's right. 2015, we landed on a pricing model that has fit and stayed with us, our Plus plan, which it's gotten some makeovers as well over the years, but that was the plan that stayed, that stuck of all the versions. We tried an annual pricing plan for everything we have and premium support. And that was also the year that Jason and I stopped doing side projects, stopped doing consulting work, and exclusively focused on the Paid Memberships Pro product. 2016, we hired 2 additional full-time people, Andrew and Travis. Andrew, who's still with us today. So he's going on his 8th year, or into his 8th year with us. 2017, we started testing sales, running a Black Friday sale, and then built our companion product, Site-Wide Sales, which is now a standalone WordPress plugin and standalone business for sites that run flash sales, Black Friday sales, and other sales using Paid Memberships Pro or WooCommerce or Easy Digital Downloads also. And then 2018, we released a theme for membership sites. Yeah, kind of since then, we've just kind of focusing on development, growing the team, getting involved in more use cases, understanding our customers better and the distinct ways they're using Paid Memberships Pro. We didn't understand any of that when we first started. We thought, like, make a membership site. It's this like vague thing. Now we really understand better, and we have 8 use cases for Paid Memberships Pro that exclusively have their own little hubs and explanations of how to get started with that use case.
I feel like, hey, so like the competitors that keep building new membership plugins, I could give them advice. So anyway, when we started Paid Memberships Pro, I remember early conversations, people would say, oh, like a membership, that's just a product type in WooCommerce. And it is, you can do it that way. But I was like, no, it's totally different use case, totally different kinds of customers. They want all this stuff. They don't want this stuff. It deserves its own plugin. And now we have this membership platform with like 6 or 8 different use cases. And if I was building something from scratch today, I'd be like, oh, memberships. No. That's not, oh, it's just a type of membership. It's like, no. Is it a course site? Is it a community site? Is it a,
like a publisher, a premium blog, a premium content site? Yeah.
It's so much more customizable too. There's so many directions you could go into.
Yeah. I mean, now that we've built this behemoth of a platform, I mean, I like it and is the way to go. Like, the membership is the user is at the core of everything. And most sites want, I want all of the above. I want a podcast and a community and and so that's, why we do well and people continue to use us. But if I was building a new one from scratch, I would niche down even further and then try to, I don't know, I'm throwing that out there, helping the competition.
New business ideas.
How to steal our business.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I just, it would be more interesting than like just another membership plugin that does the same thing. That's always sad. It's kind of like, why don't we work together?
There is a question in the comments about Memberlite. What
Sure,
can Memberlite do that you can't do on another theme?
Sure. So Memberlite is an open source theme. It's in WordPress.org. So functionality wise, there isn't much that it can do because of the limitations of being a theme in .org. It can't do what's called plugin territory. So functionality wise, there's no features that it can do that other themes can do, but it's tightly integrated with Paid Memberships Pro. So when you activate Memberlite on your Paid Memberships Pro site, everything looks a little better. Your account page looks a little better. It's designed to work great with our member directory plugin. It's designed to work well with our membership card. The levels page in particular, it's designed to work very well with that. The default levels format, which is that table layout, or if you're using the advanced levels page shortcode, also enhances the look of that a lot more. So I would say that it's something we're going to continue to develop. We just had a big release for Memberlite version 5.0, which makes Memberlite a hybrid theme. So if you're following along to the WordPress development of the block editor and also WordPress full site editing themes, you now know that there's kind of page builder features available to you as a WordPress site user, as a WordPress site. So you don't need the Elementors, the Divis, the Beaver builders of the world. My child's laughing in the background, I'm sorry. But if you use Memberlite, now you have some of the features of the block editor are easier to use when you're editing your pages. So things like the group block, alignments of blocks to be kind of full bleed to the edges of your site, or kind of a narrower width of things, stacks and groups and all these things. So you can really control margins and padding and things that a traditional page builder would give you, which is why people love Elementor and they love Divi, because you can change fonts on the fly. One paragraph, you can make it a completely different font. So Memberlite has all that now, and we're going to keep developing it as far as we can as a hybrid theme. We probably won't turn it into a block theme, but we're thinking about building a block theme as a standalone.
Nice.
I have a couple demo sites. We can throw the links in chat. You can browse them.
Yeah.
They're on InstaWP, and you can click a link to launch your own. I was actually working on the community-focused one this morning, but the URLs I can maybe Samurai can put them in the chat.
I feel like Memberlite makes it
chat.
easy to.
Can you Slack them to me, Kim?
Yeah.
Use best practices for menu placements, especially for membership sites. We have like the account page, you know, like the little account section in the upper right, and it does log in, log out really smartly. I think the color scheme thing was, I mean, lots of themes do similar stuff like this, but it like, if you really lean into it, it helps you to not just pick colors that look nice on your site, but have like, this is the primary action color. There's only one button on this page that has that color. This is the secondary color. This is the background color. And it's smart. It does these things smartly in an accessible way. And the grooves for how Memberlite is set up makes it easier to create, you know, like accessible, compliant, well-built, you know, WordPress site that's gonna, you know, funnel people into your memberships.
Yeah, some of the things people like about Memberlite, at the upper right hand, when people are logged in, it puts like welcome username, automatically linked to their membership account. It integrates with our nav menus add-on. So if you've defined nav menus in Memberlite, you can swap them out based on the user's membership level, which is a great way. I often talk to people about, we spend a lot of time in one side of our site, the way that it sells membership and the way that it helps members deliver value when they're logged in. So as an admin of these sites, you kind of have to build both versions and always be paying attention to both versions. So Memberlite has some features built in that make that a little bit easier and a little bit more, like Jason said, compliant to best practices.
Yeah.
I do see that Lane and Gareth, they submitted questions earlier, and they are in the chat, so they're watching us.
That's good. Should we sprinkle the like tech support questions, you know, with the AMA questions, or try to do one before the other? We'll jump around.
I think we'll jump around. That sounds more exciting.
Okay.
Keep you on your toes.
Let's look at Lane's
Quick
question.
thinking. All right, so Lane's question is pretty much a support question. Lane would like to provide a 30-day access to member-only content when someone purchases a thing with the add-on packages add-on. They have a discount code for an annual level. The membership expiration option is checked, as well as the expires in option set to 30 days. The plan is after their 30-day trial, their membership will expire and await them to A, renew the same level, or B, renew and change to a different level. They're using a code snippet to set users to a free level upon cancellation, thereby keeping their username and password active along with their membership profile page to get their purchased things, so no one will cancel their membership, just downgrade to free. We'd still need to handle data deletion requests manually or in some other way, but I digress. This is is this the right idea for a 30-day trial of an annual membership?
What is, if you're here, Lane, and you can clarify, what is the add-on package they're purchasing? Is the add-on package just that 30-day access, or is there something else they're purchasing and you're tacking it on as a benefit? If you can clarify that for me. I'm going to imply that it's just the 30-day membership and you're trying to use add-on packages as a way to sell a variation of that level.
Kim said this or
that. That is what Lane is trying.
Oh, when I just started saying my assumption.
Oh, the assumption. Okay, go ahead.
I think so.
It's add-on.
The add-on package is a page. Okay, so it's a tacked on added benefit.
Okay.
to a single thing that they're getting. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. So like when you do an add-on package, you have to choose, they have to also get a level. So they get the trial level, or maybe I guess they could get it with a paid level if they already had a paid level. And then that trial level expires. I mean, that makes sense to me. And then the trial level, we have a code snippet. I mean, you have another snippet, but we have one about like a trial, make sure a trial level can only be used once. And so that way, that you make sure that they only get this offer once, but which may, I mean, then they can't sign up for free, but maybe
I like what I like
another
about
add-on
that
package,
method, Jason, the trial
Yeah.
level that can only used once, is that you can then connect your MailChimp, your ConvertKit, your WP Fusion can connect you to 100 other CRMs. We just did a blog on that. And you'll see everybody in that active 30-day plan, which is a lot easier to segment when it's a level versus a discount code on that annual level. Like when you're in your admin in the members list, you're going to see 100 people. Maybe 10 of them are full-time paying annual subscribers, and 90 of them are in this kind of 30-day retention zone. So there is value if you don't have a ton of content to also protect, to do it as 2 separate levels versus the discount code method. Just throwing that out there. It's how I would set it up so that I could really see like, okay, there's 20 of these people. I would also make the logic we have to auto downgrade, which it might be something that you want to do. Rather than take away that 30-day level and downgrade them to no membership level, you could downgrade them to automatically to your free level, which is important because they need to retain access to that add-on package that they purchased. So that might feel like a better flow. 2 distinct levels, one that's a 30-day, using the trial memberships only once, a tutorial that Jason said, and then we have a tutorial to auto downgrade on expiration. So it's a lot of recipes and thinking, but
it sounds like maybe a little complicated, and I can't think of a simpler way to do it, but it's safe. I think, like it should be pretty robust for as we push out updates, and sounds like exactly what you need, and pretty clever to sell one-time use things through add-on packages and then like use that as a teaser into your paid membership. I like the business model, and it'd be interesting to hear how that's working out. And if you're running into issues, technical or marketing, like making this work, if we could figure out how to help, like
there is also MMPU multiple memberships per user, and we do have recipes that give people like a bonus level when they buy a level. So if you want to ditch the add-on packages and make that page an exclusive single standalone one-time purchase level and do that bonus level tack on, Jason and I have been doing this for 12 years, so we're always going to have like 80 routes, and so it's going to be like suggest a new route. I just want to also say that you said something, Jason, like I can't think of a more simple way, and I can. It's manual. Do it yourself.
Okay.
And we often like, I don't know if there's thousands of people buying this add-on package or if there's
then it's
4 a week. Not that that's diminishing your business, but that it might be $1,000 add-on package, and then you throw this thing on. There's nothing wrong with manually going in, adding a level to somebody, saying, "Hey, I just bumped you to 30 days of this trial. Check it out." And you email them, and it's very personal. Like, do things that don't scale is a business mantra, I guess you'll say when you're first starting out. So don't avoid doing it manually, especially if it's like lots of code and you're not sure it's going to work right.
Well, and Lane just added in, they haven't wrapped around multiple levels yet, but isn't it an idea with MMPU when you have multiple levels, like in a group, that access in that one level could just be that one page rather than the add-on packages add-on?
Yeah.
So it's not really like, you don't have to have multiple levels per se, but that multiple membership per user could allow your premium level away from your free level to have more membership levels, which is just access to that specific page.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
No, it does. When you, the MMPU, multiple memberships for user add-on, when you activate it, you get something called level groups, and then you could have your main group, and then you're basically replace add-on packages with a group of levels where you can have as many as you want. And then instead of setting the price on a page, you would just restrict one page for each of those secondary level groups. The MMPU stuff, we're currently merging it into Paid Memberships Pro for our 3.0 release. And it's always nerve-wracking when we say we're doing stuff and when's it coming out. But we want it to come out before the end of the year. And it will simplify some of the MMPU stuff and improve the UI and improve the tracking and make sure it works better with all of our add-ons and things like that. So I would avoid it at least until 3.0 comes out. If you have add-on packages working well, like, if you were starting from scratch, maybe, but
well, and
that's funny.
Lane also just asked, that would mean that lots of levels have access to one page then. The answer would be no, because you can restrict what page you want for what level. So if I want membership A to only have access to the page about training my dog, I can just restrict it to membership A. It doesn't have to be all the levels get access to all the pages.
Right. Yeah. You
would have like more levels overall, which can be confusing. Like Jason famously talks about a site he saw that had like over 100 levels. And it's because I think they were doing time-based things, and they were doing
every customer gets their own level, basically. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's Rabbi Patrick. Like, we might do a call with him again. I don't know if he still does that, but he had hundreds and hundreds of levels. It was breaking.
But everything was so custom. It was like what needed to be done, right?
Yeah, but there's also there's courseware sites that have like continuing education, and every course is a level, and they have like 200 levels, and and especially the current version isn't really meant to support that. But I'm a fan of add-on packages. So if you're already using it, keep it there, because you just like put a $sign on this page, and that's what they got to pay. So when it works, it works. It's really kind of nice.
Writing about it, it's just weird because it's add-on packages add-on.
Yeah.
Yes. No, you're right.
And they're spelled differently.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, well.
Hey, someone asked us about Stranger Studios' name. And we tell this story a lot.
Oh, that was actually, that was a question that Michael put in my head. Our Michael put in my head.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's on the list.
So how did the name Stranger Studios come about?
Go ahead, Kim. No.
I should say it. I guess I should say it because it's to talk about adorable teenage Jason.
No.
Aww.
So I think my version that I remember is that Jason during high school was into gaming, into technology, into programming, and thought that he would start a video game development company calling Stranger Studios. Had like hand-drawn or digitally maybe drawn on the MS Paint a cool looking stranger avatar icon thing, and then was like, that's cool, Stranger Studios. And we kept the name because it was for us kind of memorable and made us harken to our youth. But then when we started doing client work, we were finding people on like Craigslist. We were finding projects, people we never met and would probably never meet, and doing web design projects after I graduated college for them. And when they would say, what is Stranger Studios? We would say, well, like, we're a stranger to you. You don't know us. So we're a stranger, but we're working together with you. So aren't we strangers? And it's like that with a lot of things. Like we have 100,000 sites using Pay Memberships Pro. Like, we don't interact with all of them. So there's a lot of strangers even in what we do today.
I would say we interact with a very small fraction of them.
Yes.
Very small. But it is nice to see when we do have people recurringly come into our live streams, like Jamie, like we have a relationship with Jamie and like a couple different users. We're not strangers to them.
No, Let's move this relationship past stranger.
Yeah.
Buy our product. Don't be a stranger. No, I don't know. I think that sounds good. Don't put me in charge of slogans.
There was a little bit of it's not Stranger Studios isn't like a neck tattoo, but there was a little bit of like some people maybe were like a little too stuffy to like it sounded weird, and I think we didn't really want those clients anyway, so it worked a little bit as a filter, and it stuck. It's like the name you use, is if it's good enough, it's going to stick around. So
the room Jason's streaming from right now is in an office that was a converted pole barn on our property at our house. And when we had a new door put in that has like a glass panel, and I put Stranger Studios logo on the glass panel. So it's pretty funny. And I think it's generic enough that whatever we endeavor to do with this team and in the future, it'll move with us pretty good.
Definitely not
Although
stuck to it.
Stranger Things kind of made it complicated.
Yeah, I think there is. I think It's literally called Stranger Studios, like one of the companies that works on them.
No one
so,
sent us a cease and desist, so we're good.
Yeah.
I bet you guys came first before. I mean, yeah, you guys
We
had to come first
did,
before
and they're in the
Stranger
UK.
Studio or Stranger Things. So if Stranger
Yeah.
Studios works on them, you should send them a cease and desist.
Yeah, we should. We should get some of that Stranger Things money. I think all right, what do we want to dig in next? Who else is here?
Garth?
Sure.
Garth sent some questions. Garth actually sent 3
Okay.
questions,
Oof.
so we'll do them
Yeah,
one by
these
one.
are some doozies. Okay.
So question number 1 says, my online membership site has grown significantly since I started 3 years ago with a large membership base paying regular, monthly, and yearly subscriptions. The site offers ongoing, continual professional development for medical first responder staff in the UK. The main content is typical CPD stuff, quizzes, videos, workbooks, etc. From surveys, the user base is very happy with the content. What next steps would you look at for taking the site to the next level? Lifter LMS.
There you go. Right?
Membership Pro.
I want to say congratulations.
Maybe they're already using that. Yeah.
This is
Congrats.
so cool. Yeah, congratulations. Like, celebrate where you are. That's so cool. Do you do, I'll ask since you're here, does this provide like ongoing education credits, things that help first responders maintain certification? Or
is that continual professional development? And they're in the UK, so they probably use slightly different terminology than we do stateside.
But just add if you're there. But I think that's like, sometimes what I tell people to do is if you've cracked the code on that, you don't have to just keep growing that community. You can port that whole knowledge, that whole system to a new model, to a new topic, right? So you may be yourself a person in the first responder industry, but the model you've built, the technology you've put together, the system, the pricing, you understand so much about running. Is there a professional person you could partner with to start that for I don't know, that's like nurse practitioners, police education, some other, contracting, building, HVAC certification, any other thing that needs that same model. You kind of own all the IP right now, or are leveraging it through open source systems. So I'll throw that out there and we can dig deeper into your specific community. But
Garth did say, yes, it helps with ongoing training for staff, mandatory CPD.
Mandatory, cool.
I would say something else, which is like the opposite, which is like, instead of spreading like horizontally, you could, but I mean, I think we're in this situation too. It's like, oh, we have 100,000 membership sites. Do we build new products and, or, take our framework to build new products and run it the same way? Or do we try to sell something else to our customers? And I think in either case, no matter what you want to do, you want to make sure you're taking advantage of the assets that you already have. And that's what Kim was talking to, is like, you already have these assets, the technological assets of how to run something like this. And what's missing potentially is like the knowledge that you had to go after that market. So and that's why maybe you need to partner, or maybe you have knowledge of some other area. Like you probably want someone to fill that gap of like, I understand this market, you just give me the technology. So that's one option. I think the other one is to now take, all your hundreds or thousands of customers and figure out like, what else can I sell them? And so you already have access to the customer, and what you don't have is, like the product or that you're going to sell them. And potentially like you could partner with other people who are serving the same kind of customers. So try to find them at conferences and networking events and share ideas about the business. And they're like, oh, I sell equipment to these people. I sell education to these people. It's like, oh, can we share lists? And kind of, work out that way. So I explore both those things. And I guess like, I wish I had like more specific, like, install this plugin, set up a community and charge for access to it. I don't know if it's always, that easy. Customers are very unique, but I think no matter what you're doing next, like, you make sure you're taking advantage of, you're starting basically like a new business, take advantage of the assets that you already have, whether it's the tech component or the access to the customer.
Can I add, I'm wondering if you sell direct to the professional, or do you sell to groups of emergency response individual. I know like some of it's privatized here in the US. I don't know if in the UK it's the same thing, but there's like the Exeter Ambulance Association is its own office kind of, and they're supported and paid for and leveraged by the township and the city, but they're private kind of. So I wonder if our sponsored group members functionality could be in play here if it isn't already, where you would sell directly to the organization and give them a number of seats per year that they can rinse and repeat through their teams to maintain their training. And if you could grow that way, could be kind of cool. I was going to also say what Jason said, maybe consider some niche blogging. And then I see a lot of people doing this in the US, niche blogging, and then being almost like not a drop shipper, but kind of having a store that has products, but they are actually shipped and what's that called? Processed, I'm not sure, through the e-commerce site that you're working with, but you're actually, it appears that they're buying through, fulfilled through the other vendors. So I imagine there's tons of people that need just all kinds of supplies for this role. So it's an option then, I think, to do niche blogging and build up a lot of like affiliate revenue for yourself to connect people to shops and stuff like that. Could be cool.
Mainly to individuals. Garth has a small number of businesses aboard. So an idea, I guess, could be to like go to different fire stations where these EMSs are and talk to the fire chief of like, hey, if you purchase, and then do like the sponsored group with and grow that way of getting specific fire stations on board for those EMS personnel.
I'm looking at he got 2 more questions, and they're all related, so it's good to go through them.
Yeah. Okay. So the second question is, globally, there seems to be ongoing financial hardships with the cost of living concerns and rising interest and mortgage rates causing people to be more strict with their finances. This looks to be an issue which will be ongoing for the next couple of years. What can online membership businesses do to, 1, try and maintain growth figures in a difficult financial climate, and 2, help stem loss of members through the cost of living panic? Seems like a Jason question.
Yeah. It's like,
he's gonna say, I don't think it'll be this bad. No.
Yeah, no, I don't. But it's also, I have a U.S. centric impression of that, and also I guess we have employees in different countries, and we were, so I had recently was like looking through like what's the inflation rate in a bunch of different countries, and it's not the same across the board. Like inflation is down in the United States, but it's still a little high in different places. And I don't know specifically what's happening in the UK. I do know it's funny, like, so I guess I'll give the US story that probably maps a little bit to the UK story, but feel free to, take or leave this advice based on like the reality on the ground there. But it seems like everyone is hypersensitive to inflation, and when prices go up, they're like, "Oh no, this hurts." And I think this is also coinciding with like we had the COVID bump for online products, and now it's kind of reverting to the mean. So like online products like ours and probably yours are kind of like not doing as well as they did last year, like for new growth. And I don't know if I would conflate that like price sensitivity is what's causing that. It might just be people are back to work, they're going on trips, they're doing other things, they don't feel like starting a side business. Like, then again, like you have a very specific, customer, so like different stories. But anyway, so I think inflation it's bad, but what happens with inflation is also like people's salaries go up, and people forget. So they're like, oh, bread costs twice what it used to. And it's like, yeah, or like your grocery bill is up 20%, but also probably your salary is. And I say that you might not, it's different for everyone. There's a lot of people who lost their jobs or didn't get increases, but generally people are. And I think it's important. So one of the answers is actually like maybe counterintuitive, is if you haven't raised your prices in a few years, like, so inflation and you like, oh my God, everyone can't afford, I should lower my prices so they can afford it. And I think the opposite advice might work, which is, oh, like everything in the world is 20% or 30% or 50% more than it used to. If I haven't increased my prices in a while, I should probably increase my prices. And there's different ways to do that. You can give definitely the people who already have a membership, like, hey, we're not going to raise your rates for the next year. And then we're going to raise them to give them time so they're not surprised by it. Like, and there's a bunch of advice on raising. So I would actually go in the other, because what's going to happen is I think you might find there's some other pressure why you went from maybe like 100 new users to 80 or 50 new users, and raising prices on your existing users who are already getting value, and any new user is going to help kind of ease that bump. So like if, you know, whatever, you know, that's like basic math, right? Like supply and demand, they're paying more. Now, of course, like, I don't know, you test that out, and then like the price sensitivity, everyone's like, nah, I was paying $30 a month, but I'll never pay $50 a month for this. And then you start losing members. You'd have to like figure it out. But anyway, look into that. There's a lot of advice on how to raise prices, but I would look into that. And I think what you can also do is like potentially, if you haven't been running sales, you can raise your prices and then institute like quarterly sales. And so I'm remembering like Econ 101 college classes where there's like a concept of like price elasticity, and there's like a chart where it's like, ideally you want every single customer paying exactly as much as they possibly are willing to pay. So there'd be like a chart, you know, there's like people paying $10, $20, $30, $50. In reality, you pick one of those prices, you try to like maximize it, like what's the best price. And some people pay less than they're willing to pay, and some people pay more. But if you incorporate like a higher price and then regular, but not too regular, maybe like 4 times a year sales, you get both customers. So you get the customer who's paying full price, and then the person who's more price sensitive is like, oh, I can get it at half off for you. So you could explore that if you don't have sales as already part of your, you know, your sales process. Yeah, running discounts. You could run seasonal discounts, and you could do both at the same time. Like if you're increasing your price, that's a really good like natural sale moment. you know, you're like, hey, I'm about to increase price, buy now, and I won't increase your price for the next year. I used to say potentially forever, like you might want to make them legacy, you know, like focus on the new users versus the old users. And it depends on like what stage of the business you're in. But I think the better advice now is give them some timeline when they also have to pay full price. So it's like, hey, for the next 6 months, year, if you're an annual membership, give them like 1 or 2 years at the current price, and then it's going to increase. Something like that will make them not freak out and cancel right away while you're still raising rates. And then, but you can, then new customers, you have like a chance to run a sale, like, hey, buy now, and for the next 2 years, you don't get the increase. So maybe some of that work. Yeah.
When the pandemic happened, our company, our product was beautifully positioned to meet a lot of people's needs. So what in some cases was scary financially for people, we were in this like awesome place to deliver a product, and we saw a lot of growth through that period. I know this is like an AMA, so I should tell personal stories, but I feel like the same will be true about your product, and it's probably a good message to anyone. Like we talk to developers, people who build membership sites for people, and historically you'll talk to web developers like, oh, I don't like e-commerce sites. Those clients are notoriously bad. They call me at 2 a.m. on Saturday because the site isn't taking credit cards, or they got an error message from their payment gateway. And yeah, that's all true, but it's also putting you closer to the money and putting you closer to, you know, a non-negotiable vendor to let go. So the first people that are going to let go is like the non-necessary people in a development team. But if you're really keeping someone's online business online, you know, you'll never be let go during a crisis, during a financial crisis. And I think also with your business, Gareth, the same thing is true. People won't let their continuing education lapse because it means that their job, they're not qualified to do their job. They're not certified to do their job. So it's a good lesson for any of us to think about. Becoming more recession proof in our business is finding aspects of your business that like you can't possibly, it's like, I couldn't possibly let this membership go. Like my child loves Blippi. I can't let my YouTube premium go, you know, whatever that situation is, make it that invaluable.
Yeah. I think like in Gareth's business with continuing education, it's like without like becoming cruel, or, you know, you can use some of that market. Like people are worried about being laid off. Like one of the differentiating factors is like, well, how much continuing education have you done? Are you up to date on everything? It's going to be, so people are, you know, they need your product more than ever. And if you're worried about the recession, you like charge less, but actually they need it more. You actually could charge more. And sadly, like the person who lost their job and doesn't need continuing education anymore can't afford to pay but they don't need it anymore. So I think, yeah, so make sure you're,
That's tough.
it's weird. Like you don't want to become,
We're not
I'm not
misers
trying
here.
to, I'm not trying to, yeah.
Well,
Take all the
but
money.
Go after that money, but
Well, to Jason's
you got to think
point,
rationally about the business.
Yeah, to Jason's point, when I was teaching preschool, if I didn't do my continuing education, I didn't get my raise. So, I mean,
Right.
the continuing education that I had to do, it was free. It was provided by the state. But if it was something I had to pay for, then like it was on me to either pay this class or not get my raise.
Mhm.
Right. Like I would
Pretty easy.
I would be doing the class, you know.
Yeah.
So,
And it's also, and all these things.
Probably put some pretty good money into it because the more I do, the more I get paid. So
I think it's good to like talk to customers, but also whenever you talk to customers about money and what they're willing to pay, like that information is not super useful. Like it's like what they say they're going to pay is not as useful as what they actually pay. So you want to kind of experiment and actually having a regular sale pattern allows you to do those experiments. Like what if my product was 50% as much as it is now? What if it was 150%? Or like, even like if you have, sometimes you can run a sale, it's the same price, but you're giving them extra benefits or something. Like I'm throwing in the way you package things, stuff like that. So anyway, you could experiment and just make sure if you're raising prices or even still thinking about lowering prices or something like that, that you actually put it up on your website and have people check out. That's the only indicator of like what people are really willing to pay. You can't trust them. What was his third question? And we can finish up.
The third question is, on my membership site, we have regular instances of members' payments failing or not completing. I have several processes in place to try to get members to update payment details, such as emailing them, etc. I also know Stripe and PayPal send notifications of failed payments. Many never respond or update their details, resulting in just canceling the member. Do you have any different approaches to encourage failed payment users to update their details?
I mean, it sounds like he's doing it. Like you can't, get every single renewal. We often say this too, like our business, like our customers are small businesses, and I don't know, it's like anecdotal that the failure rate on new businesses in the first year is like 50%. And so people are like, oh my God, only 50% come back the next year. And I was like, that's everyone who's still in business is still like, it's pretty good actually, like, and we get like reasons for canceling, which if you're not doing that, that's like a really good add-on to use. Like when people go to cancel, it adds the slightest amount of friction of like, why are you canceling? And then it gives you something to read, and it actually lowers cancellation rates. Cause I don't know what it is. Like people, some people are like, I'm canceling cause I just need the money. And, but I still like those people kind of second guess. They're like, oh, like they don't want to enter into the box. And it's like something like 5% of people canceling kind of change their mind just because they don't want to tell you why. But, when we look at those reasons, like a lot of them are just like, we're not in business anymore. I don't have a website anymore. And like, we couldn't possibly get that customer. So it sounds like you're kind of doing, we would like to have like a PMPro centric product for this. Is something we think about. We have like an ad hoc process that does this. I do know, like, it sounds like you're already doing a lot, but you want to be a little pushier than is comfortable. Man, I feel like I am like the miserly business, like charge more, email them more, be pushy.
Just send me the money.
Yeah. But I have found that you'd be surprised. Like there was one service that would send an email every day for like a month, and like people renewed like on day 29. And it was, so that's a little excessive because you got to be careful about sending emails that people are going to mark as spam, and you can't send an email anymore. But if you're not sending like at least 3 follow-ups, if you gather people's phone numbers, you can have someone call them. And oftentimes we heard there's businesses that they pay these people on commission. So you give them the list, like here's everyone who failed and all their information, and here's their phone number. And if you get them to renew, I'll give you like half of what they renew for, or something like that, as like the last straw. So if you have phone numbers, you can add that. But yeah, so if you're emailing at least 3 to 5 times in each one, and I think our last one, we offer like a discount. It's like, hey, was it because of money? Here's a discount. I don't know how maybe we could get stats on that if that's even.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That's like a best practice we incorporated, but yeah, I don't know if how many get there.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I saw John Waters' spam question.
Yeah, John Waters just asked, I had a wad of Mexican credit card transactions join up and pay through Stripe, then they were
It's like $10 or
refunded.
$20. Yeah.
Maybe 10
What is
this
the
week?
Mexican pesos. So it'd be nice if it was.
Yeah, we have a blog post. I think it's out, right? Like all the things you should do for spam.
Yep.
And this is like our life. We have to spend an inordinate amount of development energy and effort, like combating spam. And even then, like we can't get it all. And I think there's been like a recent, I don't know why, but there's like the past couple months, there's been like more of this activity than usual, and in particular through spam. So make sure you're on the latest version of PMPro. We fixed some issues with reCAPTCHA. You're using reCAPTCHA. There's like, we have like this spam tool that like just checks IP addresses. Although the latest, I've seen attacks that like it's using like 15 different IP addresses and it's going slower to like avoid. So it's like our detector is like if you submit like 10 times over the course of 10 minutes or something like that, it starts to block you. And it's like, oh, I'll just do one a minute, you know, and you're like, it avoids the spam. But you can make that tighter. Some people, if you're like only service to UK, you can block certain countries, like at the ISP level, at your host, or different ways. I think maybe even Stripe has tools to do that. The other thing I would say is like, if you're using Stripe, this is actually bad, because I think what happens is if you get like 1,000 spam, depending on how you're set up, and you end up refunding, you might be on the hook for the refund fee. You might be on the hook for like the radar fee, like the Stripe charges you like a penny every time they double check for fraud. So if you get like 5,000 got through, 500,000, like that 500,000 pennies adds up. But it's actually an issue on the Stripe side. A lot of it we do maybe there's stuff we could keep doing, but I have heard that people who reach out to Stripe's tech support and say, hey, like this just happened, Stripe does something to put more attention on your site and can give you advice. And they also are waiving, like I'm putting this on a video and a VOD. I mean, but I've seen that people contact Stripe and Stripe like waives the fees that are typical of this. So it seems like they're doing the right thing to kind of help. Yeah, stop non-Australian credit cards. I forget where do you know offhand, Kim? Like that's definitely like a thing to do. Like if you're only Australians for the most part.
Do you want your site to be accessible by anyone, or is it also okay
it's like
that you
Stripe
can block access to your site?
Yeah.
If you're okay with blocking anyone outside Australia or even visiting your site, you can do that with your web host. They would be able to like geo block for you. We also have, I think we have a tutorial on our site about IP address blocking.
Yeah, we should do a tutorial
I can try to look
for
up
Stripe
in
specific.
Stripe.
Yeah, it's called Radar, is like the Stripe fraud tool. So
I think that you
want
can
to
turn off
familiarize yourself. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can limit locations.
Block a card based on location using Radar.
So look into the Stripe Radar rules, and you could add one for certain locations. And we know what some people do is like they'll deactivate Mexico or wherever the attacks are coming from for like a week or two, and then turn it back on. You know what I mean? Like if you do have customers overseas and you just say, hey, I'm turning off, Nigeria for the next couple of weeks until it like cleans up, and then that kind of stuff can help. It's so
definitely
annoying.
Like,
it's really annoying
when you get spammed like that. It kind of like when you're on target, it's really bad, and then they like move on to some other site, and you're like, phew, okay, like I'm better now. It happens to us sometimes. Jason is watching spam traffic just hitting our IP like at the server level, and he's like, oh my gosh, he's like,
oh yeah, like
it's like a video game.
Yeah, anyone who like logs into like a like their host server, a lot of times it says like how many login attempts there were since the last try, and we're just trained to ignore it. But it's like 30,000 people tried to log into your account since the last time you logged in yesterday. And so if you're ever like looking at logs on our sites, you just see like people trying to attack in real time, and you're like, it's like those are the ones that don't get through. It's kind of crazy.
Scary too.
I worry for the internet. Like it's kind of like the fact that Stripe, like I saw some of the attacks, like people with like the same name checked out 100 times in a row at Stripe, and I was like, if Stripe can't figure this out, like how can we figure it out? And then our customers, like all along the tool chain, like we're all kind of responsible at some points, but a lot of these like they get the Stripe, and like you'd imagine like a big company like that would be able to like tell what's going on and prevent it, but it's not an easy problem, and it's like an arms race, and like you block stuff and then they come. And so
Yeah.
It's only getting worse. It's weird. Like, we can't have nice things because, it's spam. Who asked about if we missed their question? Do we?
Ken did. Ken's
he submit them?
question was, how can I provide access to all members to WP-admin/admin. Yeah. PMPro members list so they can all download a CSV file of the membership directory. I can create the file myself and email it to members on request, but it would be better if they could get dynamic access rather than static reports.
So yeah, that's a cool idea. And I'm glad you have like the workaround. So the workaround is like putting the CSV file somewhere, once a week, once a month, and then, they have access to that. I did look into, and I think maybe, I don't know if you're a paying customer, but this is the kind of like customization we would help walk through probably, and we could code up quickly if you submit it. But the way to do this is there's like a capability check when you go to the CSV, the URL. You need like a dash in the CSV of the URL that you submitted through the form earlier. But there's a capability check, and you can override that and say like, hey, only, right now it says only admins basically have access to this, but you could say only admins or members of these levels can run the CSV download. And I'd have to test it, but it's kind of like a really short, you hook into that capability check and then, say, hey, if they're a member, let them download the CSV. So I would.
Oh, so you'd add the capability to the users, maybe with the roles plugin. I don't think you'd want to do it for.
It almost feels
anyone.
like it almost feels over. It's funny, like custom code versus like a plugin. So, and it's funny. One of the reasons I'm avoiding like the capability is, Kim, did you see in the Slack that we have like the wrong name? So there'll be a fix next week. Like, it's funny. Can I share my screen? I'll like share like code. It's funny. Oh, my computer's about to die.
Uh-oh.
I don't think you have a plug down there. We're gonna have to send a kid.
Yikes.
Oh, you do?
I moved. I'm not like logged into stuff on this computer, but I'll share my screen.
You should be able to present, yeah.
Okay. Oh, hold on. Why do I need to log in?
On GitHub?
Because I can't. I'm typing weird on the old Mac broken keyboard. Yeah, let me share my screen. It's going to be awkward because I'm like on one. Oh, I could share tab. Sure. You can see that?
Yeah.
We sure can.
All right, cool. So here's like the code. Like there's a PHP file here called memberships-csv.php. And so this is the PHP script that like finds all your members, puts them into a CSV file, and lets you download it. And when you click on that download, CSV link, it basically redirects here. I think it maybe doesn't go directly to this page, or maybe it does, but it loads this PHP file. And the first thing we do is like, hey, are you manage options? That's admins. And then we check, and this is what's wrong, is PMPro login CSV. So there's a bug here. It should also check, it's called like PMPro membership CSV is the capability. And, only admins have both those capabilities anyway. So what you could do is hook into what the user can check. There's a filter for this. So like WordPress filter, user can. Let me see if maybe. Oh, this is another website. This is like actually like a weird filter because it's like I think it's more like this, like user can capability. Huh. Or is it current user can? User can? There's a filter for this. Where's the filter? This is like you get to find me. Here, you can like just view the code. So sometimes like, hey, Google's not working. Let's just view the code. Oh, has cap. That's why. So user can is kind of a wrapper for this has cap. I don't know if this is interesting to like watch me like debug in real time. So, you know, and this is cool, like the new GitHub stuff, like when you click on something, it searches and makes it easy to like navigate code. So if you look in the function has cap, it's like role has cap. You could use this one. So is this the right one? I'm trying to think of the filter.
There's a user has cap filter also.
Okay, that's the one I would use. So yeah. User has cap WordPress filter. There we go. I can remember this. So if you hook into this, it's going to pass in like the, is there an example here? It's going to pass in all the caps, the capability that's being checked, and some other arguments. So you can kind of say like the second parameter cap is going to be that member. It's going to be the login CSV because it has the wrong thing, but it also, you know, will fix that. You could check for both the members list CSV. And it's like, oh, if the members list CSV cap is being checked, call PMPro has membership access to see if they have a membership. And if they do, then return true. Otherwise, just return whatever was there already. So it's kind of a quick gist. I mean, I'm halfway there towards coding it. But if you reach out to our support team, we can code that one and share it. Yeah, go ahead.
At what point would the members list stop exporting on like based on host size? I know we can't export our full members list. We have 100,000 plus users register on the site, kind of large. I don't know how large this site is, but you know, at what point would it be better either to have a cron that like builds the CSV every night for this site, or you know?
I forget. There's a lot of stuff we do. There's a lot of stuff we do to try to avoid that. And I think it's a combination of like customizations and things too, where we try to sneak in extra data into the members list export and things like that. I guess you know what? I'm actually, now that I'm thinking about this, like there might be sensitive data in that list you don't really want, right? Like it.
It's a tiny site, about 100 members.
It's gonna put like, I guess it's their name and their email. Does it put like their last order information? I don't think it puts like credit card information in there. Like we don't store full credit card.
Yeah, I mean they'll know where they live, but maybe that's the trade-off.
I wasn't even thinking that, but I was assuming like put all the data, because like I was like, maybe you do just want to by hand build this, because then it gives you a chance to filter out what's in that list too. I don't know what the limit is. Like we do some things to like, if usually like above 10,000. No, it's not 100. I mean, it depends on your host. It depends on your customizations. It depends on.
Ken said no credit cards for us, so likely using pay by check.
Yeah, or I mean, I don't know if we don't keep export order information as a separate export, so it wouldn't. Yeah, it runs out of memory. So if you do, like, you have to increase the amount of memory that the script has access to. But I don't like, that's on like. We kind of like patched it with the Band-Aid. Like when the members list export was like, hey, if it's big, it doesn't export. We did a bunch of stuff to kind of like make it more efficient, and like, hey, now it still works up to some tens of thousands of members and some, you know, amount of memory on your server. And it's also like a time thing. Like I think on our site, like it'll work. It just takes 5 minutes, and you know, but that's for us to do. Like we can build it slowly in the background. Like that's an update we have to do. Is I export to members, and it just does 100 at a time in the background until the CSV is built, and it's like, here's your CSV. I think there was one other thing like one of the options was to use a role manager plugin to give users that role, but that actually feels more complicated than using custom code here, because the custom code is like literally when I'm trying to do this one thing, let members do it, and it's a little bit of code. Whereas like you would have to create a new role, make sure everyone in that membership level gets the role, and then edit that role to also have that capability of membership level export. And that honestly feels like a little more complex. You have to install another plugin. You have to set that up and make sure that always stays in sync. 2 other plugins probably. So this is why we made it customizable through code. Tiny site, 100 members. They'll probably be okay.
Yeah, it's only 100. All right. So Jason said he wanted to be stumped. So.
Yes.
What advice would you give a founder that wants to make it to year 10?
Wow, founder to year 10.
I mean, you've made it to year 12, so.
I don't know.
And then I have another one to stump you too.
Yeah, you are stumping me. I don't like to be airy. Like, there's so many paths in business. So it's like, the way to answer that is like, how did we specifically make it to year 10? Was that we were always thinking long term. Like, we weren't trying to maximize, the most out of our customers at every single moment. We weren't trying, like, every like marketing campaign we did wasn't like a swing for the fences, this home run. I have to, we went all in. We didn't leverage. We didn't, we didn't go into debt for a business. When we were hiring people, we always stayed profitable. There were some years where Kim and I were paying ourselves first. So we were taking the salary, and then there's profit in the business, and we would hire people, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, now like there's no profit unless we grow, but there was no like, so we're pretty conservative, and that allowed us to stay alive for 10 years. Like, I mean, there was minor setbacks, but they could have been worse, and we had this interesting situation, like a lot of online businesses, like during COVID had, like more work, but stuff like that happens that could, like the interest rates rising. If we had debt that was, we had to pay off at 6%, like, that, and we were leveraged through that, like that could have like threatened the business. And then we're like, oh my God, like, things are a little slow. So I don't know. We stayed conservative. We like thought long term. We didn't always try like maximize things. We, paid ourselves first and made sure we, the books were
I think
balanced
some things that we're doing now later in our business are helping and would have probably helped sooner. Like, we went through an exercise last year to write some core values.
Yeah.
And if we had those 10 years ago, I think we would still be where we are, but we would have had a lot of simpler decision making along the way. So now that we have these core values, they're like tenets, we can look to them and we can say, like, if we do this, does this line up with what we're thinking? If we hire this person, does it line up with who we are as a team? And it makes sure that as we grow, we're 14 people right now. If we were 40 people, having that in place now will help us make sure that the culture remains the same, that the people making decisions think like us as we grow. So I think that's very useful if you're a single person to do that. I would also say, like, some kind of mastermind, some kind of peer group. If you're starting your business alone, we know that most people building on Paid Memberships Pro are building it themselves, wearing every hat, doing every piece of their business, building the site, building the WordPress site, paying the bills, creating the content, doing the growth marketing, communicating with their members on social media, doing all these things. So it can feel lonely, it can feel tiresome. So having some kind of peer group, not just your family and friends, but other people in similar boats that you trust, that are kind of where you are in business, I think too, because there's a lot of online gurus who are spouting business advice just at totally different places than where you're at. And their attitude toward your size business, it doesn't always land, especially for me, because I don't look at them and I don't see myself like them, or they're pushing too hard or reaching too far, or they're thinking too small. The opposite can be true also. So I think that those are valuable things that have little to do with the actual product in the business you're doing, and a lot to do with your relationship with your business.
I like it. The system that we kind of went through for core values was the book Traction by Gene something or another. Wickman, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. So if you want to look into that, you discover the values that you already had. But it's like you said, it's awesome. There's tough decisions, and you're like, we make the tough decision, but we have our core values. And so we like, if anyone calls us on this, it's like, here's why we're doing it. Like, we know why, like, and this is how we're making decisions. And yeah, the mastermind groups are great because to other people in similar situations and talk and shop with them and learning from them and stuff helps a lot.
I think, we don't set a lot of goals, but I think it can help you have like we talked about, a healthy relationship with your business, like a healthy relationship with your performance and how you are doing, because you could get to 10 years and have grown 10% each year. You could get to 10 years and have grown 0% each year. So if that was your goal, just to like keep something and sustain it and be happy with where it's at, just making sure that it's still serving you the way you need it to. And if you aren't reaching astronomical goals, like I want it to replace my income in 5 years. If that's your goal, I want to leave my day job and I want to replace my income. Break that 5-year goal into what happens in year 1, what happens on year 3.
Yeah.
And
We have
if
that
you're not thinking
spreadsheet.
that way, yeah, use Jason's spreadsheet. I think it's on our
Yeah, we'll
Stranger
find
Studios
that.
blog.
Okay, yeah.
But I think like treat it like a side business if that's all you want it to be. If you want it to be more, even though you're working on it on the side, put some business principles in place, put some goal setting in place so that you don't just like, I wish I'd be further now and just feel bad about it. That you actually like felt like you put a plan in place even though it's wrong, and a year later revisited that plan and this was information I wish I knew then. Now I have a better plan.
Sweet. I call that positive visualization through spreadsheets. And we do that like where we, you say, hey, next year I want 30% more. So you just drag the line and it's like, okay, that's what our goal is. And you start with the number and then you break it down like, wait, well, this is this much money. That's this many customers. It's this many widgets. How do we get there? What can we do? And it kind of trickles down into like, what am I actually doing? Instead of like working really hard on what you think are the knobs for your business and then checking in like every once in a while and being like you said, I wish it was bigger. You could be more, more specific about it.
Yeah. I'll touch on one of our core values. Sam, go ahead.
Well, maybe the same core value that I was about to touch on, but I just really love that one of our first core value actually is we are human. And throughout everything that Jason and Kim do, I've been on the team for almost 2 years. Not only is the team like, yes, we are human, but we also know our customers are human. And our primary goal is to help our customers get paid. It's not even so much like for us and as a company, but Jason and Kim continuously show that they like open their heart and lives and like passion to help our 100,000 plus users get paid.
Yay!
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I was going to talk about our open goal, which is interesting because I said we don't really set goals. We do, but we don't set financial goals. We've set like size of ownership of the WordPress market. Like we want more sites using Paid Memberships Pro. We're built on WordPress. WordPress is open source. Paid Memberships Pro is open source. So when we make decisions, we talk about money and Jason being miserly, but he isn't. But we don't make decisions that always make us the most money in the short term, which is like, hey, stop, what are you doing? Famously, MemberPress locks members access to their admins when they're licensed, when they stop paying. And it's like, whoa, like that's a way to get people to pay. You talk about people coming back and renewing, maintaining their credit cards, like shutting off their ability to run their business, like obviously, but that would never be something we do because it's not open. And it's like, gosh, like what kind of people would be if you go to sleep at night and you're like, oh, like, ha, you didn't have $200 this month. So you don't get to maintain that thing that is going to make you $200 so you can actually pay me next month. So it's interesting how the core values can be like anti-revenue drivers, but still healthy relationship with the business. We still like what we do. And I look at myself in the mirror and I don't go, oh, shame on me.
Right. Feel bad. Yeah. We really feel that we want to make the best membership software. We want to help as many people as possible. And obviously there's opportunity on top of that. And as we help everyone out, we'll make money and we don't have to think short term. And, and our goal isn't to reach some number and spend the money on something else. Like we live really comfortably. It's to grow the business. So we don't need to, do anything that would be counterproductive towards getting more people using Paid Memberships Pro and making more money themselves, All
right. My next question to stump Jason.
Okay.
What is a common piece of startup advice that you think founders should ignore?
Okay. I have a go-to one, which is there's a lot of startup founders talking about reducing churn and a lot of focus on churn. And maybe there's a little bit less of that these days, but there used to be, there was so much of it. And I was talking to people who were just launching, and it's month 2, and they're like, I churned, the 10 people from last month to this month. And it's like, that's not really churn. Like, you haven't even figured out to get the customer part yet and then retain the customer. So like when you're starting out, like if you're honestly starting out, I did go to like a startup event, and then they were like, you're not a startup, you've been in business for 12 years. So you're like, I guess you're right. Yeah. But if you're really starting up, there's a lot of focus on churn, and it's too early. Like, you really want to wait until like at least year 3 or 5, or really when your business, like as much of your business has to do with churn as it does to, the number of people churning is like equal to the number of new people coming in, then it's, it's on you to like figure that out. And it's not like, don't ignore it, right? Like when people churn, that's a good indicator. Like, talk to those people early on, and it's like, why, what happened? What could we have done better? And you don't want to fall into the trap of doing everything to retain that customer, because again, like early on, you don't have your marketing and sales process all figured out. That person churning maybe just shouldn't have been a customer at all. Now, fast forward 5 years, and you probably figured something out about your sales funnel. Now, when someone churns, the information is different. It's not just like, I bought this thing and I shouldn't have bought it. It's kind of like, you told me all this stuff and I didn't get the thing I was looking for. There's more information in the churn. So people focus on churn too early. And it's interesting. The reason for that is that a lot of startups that find success, and then it's year 5 and they're making money, and they start like, I think I'll start writing a blog, like that's top of mind for people in year 5, who are giving advice, but and people focus on it too early. So I don't know, that's like a thing I've talked about before, but that comes to mind.
That kind of falls on. I have 3 that I like.
Ooh, let's go.
One is like, the customer is always right. We might believe this or think this, and we, Jason once was at a pizza shop, and a person came in and was complaining, yelling at the poor person working there, who isn't even the owner, about the disgusting overcooked pizza they had yesterday. And the owner was in the back of the pizza, making the pizza, saying, where's your pizza? And the guy's like, well, I ate it. He's like, you ate it? You don't get your money back. Like, he was like, give me a break, And I think over the years, we've become more comfortable putting boundaries between ourselves and our team and customers that have expectations for their site. Not to say they're not human, we're not human, but it is human to say, like, you've crossed my boundary, you're not always right. So I think you don't have to, like Jason said, bend over backwards to make someone happy. They're just the wrong fit. Like, it's not you, it's me. Like, go find someone else, kind of thing.
And these are like those irate customers. Like, don't go above and beyond, bending yourself for people who are just miserable. People are not going to be happy. You give them a chance. You're like, are you just having a bad day? Like, this is what I'm willing to do. And if they don't calm down after that, like, then you're like, okay, like, here's your money back, and move on. And
it reminds me of the story that you told at WordCamp Buffalo of that person who was like calling you names and like just being really disgusting, and like paid $30, and then you're like, wait, what do I have a plan for $30? Like, you're not even talking to the right
Who
company.
are you?
You're not even one of my customers. You bought another membership plugin, and I didn't tell them. They were like, which one? Do you know which one it is? And I was like, nah, you'll have to find out, He wanted
another one I'll throw out is
anyway,
hire great people and get out of their way. It's something you'll hear. And if you're starting out, you might be like, I don't know marketing. What should I do? Like, if you have never even done it for your own business, like, fill that role a little bit, feel uncomfortable, learn some things. Like, I think you might get lucky, and you might hire a great person, just say, like, just do it, take the wheel, and it's like, that's a decision to say, like, I won't learn this. I won't establish this process myself. I don't want to be involved in this process, which is really dangerous, I think, for a startup. Like, Jason and I have always incubated new ideas, new processes in our teams, set the standard for something, written the guideline for how something is done before we've handed it off to someone. And that's not to say I don't like people's ideas, I don't want input, but it is to say, like, this is too important for me not to understand. And I think we see that in a lot of our customers too, like an unending willingness to learn something deeply that isn't even familiar to them. Like, the person who is creating a site for continuing education for first responders, I imagine that you are a first responder. Maybe you're not. Maybe you love one. Maybe you know someone who is one, but you also had to learn how to develop websites. And now that's a skill that you have even at a small level, a skill that you have because you didn't just hire someone and get out of the way. Like you'll always be able to do that 2 a.m. fix to your gateway because you understand it. So I think that's one it goes against a lot of startup advice.
One thing I'll add to that though is growth happens the most when you are uncomfortable. And that is something I really learned since I've started working here is like when the writing of the code recipe post was thrown on me, I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't know anything about code. Like I have to understand this program to get this done. But that uncomfortableness pushed me to learn. And now I can write them pretty independently. There's some times where I'm like, please help. But without that, like uncomfortable, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to dive in and figure it out. You're not going to grow. You gotta.
That's a life lesson, right? It's
like
if you're working out, you gotta like tear the muscles to make them bigger. You gotta feel the pain. Little tears that become bigger muscles. Yeah.
Be uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Can I say one more really quick?
Yeah. What was your third? You said you had 3. Yeah, go ahead. I got time, by the way. Like, I don't know when we're stopping. Keep going. Yeah, go ahead.
That like to protect your secret idea and make people sign NDAs and like, like don't tell anyone what you're building and it's like if you just operate in a mindset that someone is sitting in their basement building exactly what you're building at the same time, like don't think that your idea is completely original and unique. Those are very rare, but like if you get something out there, even a small version of what you want to create, and sure, like maybe you reveal that you're building this larger thing. Maybe it feels very like you have to keep it private and no, you won't talk to any vendor. You need them to all sign these non-disclosures. Like, I think that's an ignorant approach to business, unless you're like, I don't know, developing cancer therapies or I'm not sure what
there's some version of it.
In this online space, assume someone else is right there across the sea doing the same thing as you.
Anyway, yeah, the benefits to talking about what you're working on honestly and openly like outweigh the downside of someone like, that's a good idea, I'll go do it faster. Like, like you said, you want to find partners, you want to get pushed back, and everyone's going to give you advice. You want it, like, you don't have to take all the advice, but it's good to challenge the idea and someone be like, and if you talk to me, like, I'm always like the downer. I'll be like, oh, here's like the other people who are already doing that, but it's good. Like look into it because you can learn something and here's like the 3 big challenges you'll have, like, so you want to get that kind of feedback from people. It'll make your idea better. Yep.
So I can keep diving into the questions that I have.
Sure.
Not so much the support questions, but like the fun like AMA birthday stuff. But if people are still in the chat and they're hanging out and you have questions, throw them in. Yeah. They're here for your brain picking. So, but while we wait for people to drop questions, was there ever a time that you guys got discouraged and wanted to give up on Stranger Studios?
Yeah, it happens.
2:00 yesterday and 1:30 the day before.
No, not 2:00 yesterday.
Not 2:00 yesterday.
There was like, I mean, it's stressful. There was a time like a few years ago where it was like around Christmas time and we were busy with work and like the Christmas commitments, and Kim and I were fighting over work things. And it's like when Kim and I fight over something because we can't like make a decision together, we're not on the same page. It's when it like, that's the worst. It's like, it's not worth it. Like no amount of like, this business is, this stuff is any of this worth like us, like our relationship. Luckily, like our relationship is good. And like, I think the working together improves it in so many ways. Right. But it was like when we're fighting and that was a time where like a lot of stuff was coming to a head. We were like, like maybe we shouldn't do this anymore. Let's look at other options. But in reality, like, our life is great. We love working with the people that we do, Sam. And we talked earlier about the values of like helping people get paid and build sites. Like this is like, I feel like it's legacy type stuff that we're building, and it's important to me. And the work is, challenging and fun stuff like that too. And there's financial reward. So it's like, we're not ever in a hurry.
Yeah,
What do you think?
Everyone watching has probably seen WordPress acquisitions in the last few years. Like, I feel like they're a little slower right now, but some of our competitors got acquired, and it wasn't that we weren't, desirable for acquisition. It was just like our decision not to want that to happen. I will say, like, when our son was born, before Paid Memberships Pro, we were doing consulting work, and our son had some birth complications. I was literally like going to see him after his surgery the next day, and Jason had to take a call with a client. And I think after that moment, we were both like, this isn't good. Like, we can't do services and have children have this life, have people that we have to have phone calls with. And it's like the most insignificant thing you could possibly imagine in our life right now was like talking to that client. You're like, I want to go see my child who just had surgery. I don't want to be on a phone call with somebody. So I think we did. Yeah.
I mean, not even like an 8 or 10-year-old.
No, it's like a 2-day-old child.
Yeah. Like, you just had it.
Yeah.
Just had him. So I think that was a business we left intentionally, and a decision we made to say, like, something else has to give. We have to do something else. We have to. And Jason talks about his transition from services to products. And that's why Paid Memberships Pro exists, in part because we knew our life had to change, and we knew that we didn't want to grow as a services team. So this was like the natural next step that we could at least, and stay just the two of us for a while developing it. So yeah.
It's a lot easier to put the company on pause when support is tickets and not phone calls. And that way you can prioritize family for the time you need to prioritize your family.
Our customers are watching this, but it's funny, like when a customer that pays you $500 instead of $50,000 has different expectations. And so like, we don't have to take calls like at an opportune times. And now we have a team that handles things. So it's like, there's more customers, but each individual one feels like less. And we're not, we provide the service that we provide, and it's like, we're growing it, changing it, and doing things over time, but it's kind of like really clear. Whereas like consulting is kind of like, I hire you to do whatever I need you to do. You know what I mean? Like, in a sense, and that's stressful.
And now he's 14 years old. And he's sitting over there playing video games.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks to him. Let's thank him for making us go, huh?
Good job, Isaac.
This stinks. Yeah.
Okay. Essential Deliverables has asked, what role was your first employee you hired, and why did you choose this?
Yes, I think I guess because I'm thinking of like contractors we had before, but I mean, I think sure support. Yeah, in support. So we hired a couple people part-time to help with support. And why did we choose that? Because it's kind of it's like, I think it's pretty common advice to like hire support. Like if you have a kind of support, it's usually easier type work to free up, but time intensive, and so it's kind of the kind of thing that we can train people, and almost everyone who's done support for us, definitely at that time was like also a developer who, we get, development work out of them. So it's a good stepping stone. And it's like the demand, like our business really is like the support is like a huge part of the business of like why people pay us for, the prices that we're charging. Because it's a free product otherwise. So there's demand there. Yeah.
That was, hybrid support, dev, mostly support. And then it freed up our time to do more development and do more content creation. And then the next two were also support/dev. And then Travis quickly became in more of a marketing role. Oh, the cat's here.
Hey, hi, cat.
Moved into like a marketing role, and we weren't really expecting to have a person in that kind of role, but it was awesome.
Yeah. So we have people do dev and marketing for us, and I don't know. But we definitely now like we said, it's important that we understand like how everything works, and so it's kind of like we do it first. We figure out what we need, and it's like hire someone to do this thing I've just been doing.
I have a
You get the
post
job
that'll come
description.
out probably next week. Tasks a membership manager can perform on your site, and we have our membership manager role add-on, which is an add-on for Paid Memberships Pro that gives a user in your site access to the memberships area, to the users list, but not to edit everything in the WordPress site. So they can't change like the URL of your site in the settings area. So it's a step down from administrator, a step up from editor, I guess I'd say, in the WordPress site. But it was cool to write that post because it has things that aren't even related to the membership manager. But when you get to a certain size, there's just account queries and refunds and questions about discounts and pre-sales questions, no matter what kind of membership site you're running. So the article will be cool. You can look for it. We'll probably email about it next week. But all kinds of stuff like run your events, import your articles to your WordPress site. So lots of things you could hire like a multifaceted kind of virtual assistant or admin for to take some of that load off you when you get to that certain point.
There's another benefit. There's another benefit to having people do customer support too, and it's like it gives they have distance from the product. Like we take it so personally, and like so a lot of the actually in a different way. So some of it, like when there's an irate customer who's saying negative things, like we take it to heart a little bit more, maybe like so that having that buffer is good. But then also in development, like it's good in the beginning. Like every support ticket could become like a development thing to build. And when in the beginning, when we needed to do more of that, that was cool. It's like, hey, we're talking to our customers and we're building the things they want. But nowadays, like if I do support, I'm like, oh, I should just fix this, or we could make this better. We could, you know what I mean? It's like a bigger burden. Whereas like someone who's hired, like my job is to help answer the question, get the customer to the solution in the fastest way possible, not necessarily like, upending everything else that the business is doing. So it's nice to have like that, a little bit of that buffer. You want some of that information, but not, if you're in it all day, like you need to be able to like have perspective at the higher level of the business. And if you're kind of down in the weeds of support, it makes that harder to do. So that's one of the benefits.
Jason and I always get into not the weeds too much, but we do go down a lot of paths. Like earlier, we were talking with someone about this free trial 30-day tack on to an add-on package, and we probably left you more confused than helped, right? Because we were like, oh, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. Like, okay, wait, our support team is really good at identifying like the 80-20, like probably what you mean is this, probably what you want is this. I'm not going to tell you about that 20% other way, because it's not needed, but I think Jason and I just can't help ourselves because that's how our minds work. But I do see Kim White's in the chat, and I'll say, also with that Kim's an advocate for our users. When Kim sees like a repeated thing coming up in support, something that the devs are like, no, we'll never do this, or no, that's silly, we don't need that. And Kim's like, people really are asking for this, so she can bring common things up to us, bring common points that are causing friction up to us, and be the advocate for everyone that she's helped in support to the developers who might say like, oh, that's a lot of work, I don't want to think about that, and create that good bridge. So thanks, Kim. I always say that.
Kim's really good about that. Same with documentation of like, I think most of the things on my documentation board for updates come from Kim White, just because it's like, this isn't really clear, or this needs to be changed, or anything like that. So she's on top of it. Woo. All right, not to scare anybody on the team who's listening, but do you have an exit plan, or are you going to keep doing what you're doing for 10 more years?
You want to go ahead, Kim?
I'm not going to keep doing what I'm doing, but my team is.
Kim and I are exiting. No,
not really. We're moving into advisory roles. That would be my deal.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I am trying to like help support and kind of like move my role into more of like being like the lead marketing person and design and stuff like that. That way you can go do what you actually want to do, because I know it's not with me.
Yeah, that's the dream. Like
it's hard to want to step away when I have fun days with you. Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit earlier that like we're not, we're not selling the company to anyone, or any like we're not looking for that kind of exit. We're fine. We don't need the money. We don't need the change of job. We're okay doing this, but we do want to like the dream and the goal and like the process that's going, and it's taken a while, and it still will take a little bit of while, is to train the people that we have and bring on new people to kind of do the work that we're doing. And then, ideally, like if other people are running the company and doing things that we've done in like one day a week, we're kind of like, coming in like, how's it going? How can I help? This kind of thing, instead of like, oh, I'm the one that code it. You know what I mean? Like, okay. Or I have to write it, like less of that and more of just, checking in. I think if we get to that, that'll be really good. And then we are like, and I think you see this like WordPress Matt Mullenweg, right? So as like the head of WordPress, he's some years just a figurehead. He's talking, he's doing other things. And some years it's like, you know what, I'm coming in and I'm leading the release and I'm coding something and I'm building this thing because it's important to me. And, and that needed to be led from the inside. So I think him and I would move into that kind of role. And we're kind of there already, right? We're like, and part of our investment in Lifter and like us being, kind of split time and distracted with Lifter work. That's a how did you phrase it, Sam? Like the growth happens when you're uncomfortable kind of thing. Yeah. So I consciously was like, hey, this is going to be uncomfortable. I literally don't have the time to do all the things I was doing before. That's going to force me to figure out, how do I do this with half the time? And then you figure that out, so that's the plan.
The team did pretty well in Q1 when you guys were like
totally
off in Lifter land.
Yeah. Was it like on a meeting earlier? We were like, that was like when there's some less in Q1. I was like, that's kind of short. And I was like, oh yeah, like him and I weren't even here. That's why. Yeah. So yeah, that's the goal. And I think, and you know what, like I really honestly care about like this as the open source solution for memberships on WordPress, and no one else is thinking about it the way that we are and taking care of our customers and users the way that we are. And we don't need the money. And so it's like, I don't feel comfortable like handing over the business to someone else. I don't really trust that they like have the same vision that we do. And I still believe in this vision. So I want to keep this business running the way it is.
I'll take it.
And it's not like,
one day.
Yeah. And it's not like we're hurting. I don't know. It's like when we talk about the money, like it's hugely valuable. And like the opportunity of like being in contact with hundreds of thousands of membership sites, like we're in a really good position. And it's almost like the long-term greedy view is to hold on to it as long as possible, not get rid of it. So I don't know. We like these users and customers and the people we work with. And that's the plan.
Speaking of users, we have a technical question in the comments.
Okay.
Jerry is asking, regarding new account creation and WordPress user versus PMPro user, I understand your article about why you create a WordPress user first, but is it possible to make that an option to not create a WordPress user? The reason for it is Jerry had a user this week sign up and get an account created, and then he posted in our forum some non-related topic, all in the early morning hours because he's from India. This was before I approved.
Yeah. So the short kind of sad answer is no. Like we can't, and we deliberated this a while. We've been holding off on this for a while. This is something we've dealt with for a while. Like this is highly technical, but like for other people watching, trying to follow along, like when you check out for a membership using WordPress and Paid Memberships Pro, you're on a form to check out, and behind the scenes or like in the UI, like a bunch of things have to happen. Like you have to make a payment, you have to create a user account, you have to get a membership. It talks to a bunch of APIs to connect to third parties. If you're doing that, stuff gets set up on WordPress, and there's decisions that we can make as the plugin of like, what's the order of doing that. And for a while, we kind of had a hybrid system where depending on the gateway, like what was recommended for the gateway. Mm-hmm. And we honestly, like our previous belief before was the ideal situation was make the payment, make sure the payment goes through. Then when the payment goes through, create the user. Then when you create the user, give them the membership. And it's funny, like each of these steps, like something could go wrong. And then it's like, if something goes wrong, how do you like unwind it and fix it? Like this is all in the code. Like what happens? Like the payment went through, I created the user, but I couldn't give them the membership. Or like I got the payment, like a bug that used to happen on sites was I got the payment, but then I couldn't create the user. And how do I follow up on that? It's like, that's a bad situation for the customer. Right. And so we've constantly been weighing this, but recently, and it's kind of related to the spam issue and other stuff going on and future development and there's, but I guess the basic idea is that WordPress, expects you to have a user account. Like if you want to do anything on the WordPress site, like there needs to be a user. And I think maybe it's like a mental shift. And I think there's a solution to what happened on your site. So I think there's a thought that when someone becomes a user, literally when they become a user, they get a login and a password and they have some access to your website. But what you want to move towards is like, just because they have a user doesn't mean they should have access or be able to do everything on my website. So I think in this case where your forum says all you need is a user to gain access, you probably want to set it up so that they have to have a membership level and be an approved member. Like if you have approval, and actually that could be a bug. Like if you're using BBPress or BBPress plugin and our approvals plugin and that user wasn't approved, they shouldn't have been able to use BBPress, and you should reach out to us. So they'll have a user account, and when you disapprove it, it just, everything flows better. Like, cause you don't have those dangling situations. Like I sent a payment to the gateway and now they have a user over there, but they don't have a user in WordPress. So we're like, oh, there's always a user in WordPress. That's like the first thing. And then we do all this stuff and I can follow up with them if it breaks in the middle. And I can do things like keep track of what they're doing, because if they're a spam account, now I can kind of like, do something, you know what I mean? Like I can decide not to give them access, but you kind of need like that user and WordPress as the storage. There is like a counteracting, like, so I say WordPress assumes that there's a user whenever you're doing anything. And a lot of these APIs are like, well, what's their email? Don't you know their email? What are you even doing? So it's like the whole internet like assumes you have this information and the user is the logical place to store it in WordPress. There is this like counteracting force on the internet. I don't know what's going to happen where like GDPR type privacy is like, I want access to your website without having to give you my email address. Or like, I don't want to have to create a user, or like if I create a user, I want you to forget my information as soon as possible. And so that's like the internet is coming to a head of like, well, you're using my app. I need you to have a user account first, like users. And there may be technology. There's lots of actually interesting technology to get around this kind of like, I forget what it's called, but these like keys, but basically, the kind of like, I have a user, but you don't have my data. But anyway, I think the solution, anyway, that's a long way around like why we're doing it. But the solution for you, I think, is to find out why did that user have access to your forum before he was approved? And you can open a ticket with us. That's something that if you're not using BBPress, but something else.
Yeah, Jerry said they're using other forum apps that they really need to move away from. But you made a good point, and they need to do more research.
Yeah. So it's kind of, if that app isn't integrated with PMPro or through roles, like if maybe they do something role based, and you could use the roles plugin to say, hey, give them this role when they get the membership, but don't give them that role until they get the membership. And I guess, the other thing that might make it easier is if you're using the approvals plugin, it's a little like the approval status of the member. People go into this like quasi area. I have the level, but I'm not approved. And so, this seems like an easy issue. It's like, do they have the level? And it's like, well, if you're asking, should they be able to post to the forum? They don't have the level. But if you're asking like, what information should I put in the confirmation email? Like they have that level, you should put that level's information. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of confusing. But especially if it's a plugin that's not integrated with Paid Memberships Pro, like it doesn't know about approvals. Or wait, maybe it's integrated with Paid Memberships Pro, but it doesn't know like the approvals add-on. You can like create multiple levels. So your approval process could be moved from one level to another. And that's a little bit annoying in some cases, but it just makes it like way more specific. Like, and sometimes makes this kind of thing easier where you say that the forum doesn't know about approval status, but it knows levels. So part of the approval status is moving them from one level to another. And then it keeps things more separate. That might help. All right. Good luck. Yeah.
All right. So we are wrapping up a little bit. I have a hard stop at 4.
Okay.
Oh, grandma. But our next open office hours is going to be July 27th. And Kim will be presenting on designing your membership with Elementor. So that is
I was like thinking earlier, I think I've used Elementor for a total of like 20 minutes in my whole life. So this is going to be great.
On it.
I think I'm going to have to try to use it a little bit.
You have to grow. It's uncomfortable. Yeah.
I don't want to look that uncomfortable to everybody. I want it to be valuable.
We can be uncomfortable during the week to figure it out. You have 2 weeks.
I was thinking of approaching it like if Elementor had a really cool demo site that was like a membership site, even if it wasn't built with Paid Memberships Pro, I was thinking, could I like recreate it?
Oh, cool.
I know they have a library of existing sites. Or if somebody wants to send their site in, and it's a site they built that they're very proud of, made with Elementor. Send
That'd
it
be
in to
cool.
me, and I'll like live recreate it maybe. And I
Yeah,
won't
that'd
log
be cool.
into your site. I'll just like look at it what I can maybe. I don't know. We'll think about it.
That would be really cool. If someone did have a PMPro with Elementor site that they would be willing to like,
Or
share with us.
or you
and
could go the
everything.
other way, like
They could run the demo.
redesign like the Paid Memberships Pro website with Elementor.
Oh, that's good.
Or
That
the
gives-
Must
I
Love
have more
Dogs.
visibility there.
So build Must
Yeah.
Love Dogs
You
with a
could
different
build-
theme
yeah.
and
Okay.
Elementor. Yeah.
I could do that.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
I think I've only been in Elementor for like 20 minutes as well. So
Oh, you're the expert.
I got you all beat. At least a few hours fixing bugs.
Then you should be doing it. No, it'll be
That's
fun
2
with
weeks
Kim
from
and I.
now.
It's
Yeah,
2 weeks from now, July
weeks.
27th. I think Kim and I always have fun with the designing topic open office hours because those get interesting. So
Cool.
that is it.
We wrapping up?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll see everybody next
All
time.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congrats, Kim. Congrats, Sam.
Happy
All right.
birthday. We didn't have to sing,
Happy
right?
birthday.
Nobody's
Happy
singing
birthday.
happy birthday.
I thought earlier that we should have planned ahead better and like had party hats and everything and like those little like
Next year.
yeah.
I'm not good
Or
at the
13.
birthdays, the business birthdays.
Next
All
year.
right. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.